This mom is under arrest after police say they found her 7-year-old daughter barricaded in a closet weighing only 29 pounds. She was allegedly so malnourished that she now has brain damage. But this discovery has triggered new concern for police in a different case, and it's a case involving one of this woman's other daughters.
Ava has not been seen in over 6 years, so her height and weight are currently unknown.
This mom's daughter hasn't been seen since 2017 when she was 2 years old. Now police are hoping they can find her and that she's still alive. We're on the case, presented by Law & Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. This is a shocking story, a disturbing story that we're following out of Austin, Texas on multiple fronts. But let's start with what police say they found inside an apartment complex. They say they were able to rescue a young girl who was allegedly barricaded in a closet at the hands of her mom. Here's a picture of that mom. Her name is Virginia Gonzales, and she is now under arrest. Now, KVUE-TV was able to look through the arrest affidavit and court documents. This is what those documents allegedly say. The 7-year-old child that police rescued from her home weighed just 29 pounds. Now, that's the weight that a child should be when they're roughly 4 years old, not 7. And according to police, this is where the apartment unit was. It's in a neighborhood in southeast Austin, Texas. Police received a 911 call reportedly from the child's grandma, potentially Virginia Gonzales' own mother, who found the child locked in the closet, and she was there potentially for weeks. Police say the young girl was starving. She was malnourished. Inside the apartment complex, that closet that the girl was found in, it was only 5 feet 2 inches tall. It had no light and it had no ventilation. So the girl only had roughly 10 inches of space in that closet. Virginia Gonzales' other children in the home told the grandmother that the reason the girl was locked in the closet was because she had issues controlling her bladder and, quote, was always getting into stuff. Remember, she is just 7 years old. Another disturbing detail that we've learned is that girl allegedly was only fed a corn dog and half a cup of water a day. Documents say that Virginia's daughter suffered brain damage because she was starved for so long. She's now at a local hospital recovering. This is Virginia's booking photo after police charged her with serious injury to a child on April 24th. This is the other booking photo that Austin police have put out to the media. This is from April 3rd. They say it's because of an out-of-county warrant. This is the same day that police say they found that little girl in the closet. Police say inside the home, she also had 6 other children. They were all siblings of this young girl, but police say those 6 other children, the ones that were not allegedly being held in that closet, all seemed to be healthy and fed. But let's get to the other layer that police are looking at in this case, because the discovery of this young girl in the closet, allegedly at the hands of her own mother, has raised concern for police because they say one of the woman's other children hasn't been seen for roughly 6 years. Police say they found 7 children in the home, including that young girl allegedly imprisoned inside the closet, but they say they realized that one child was missing. And police say she has been missing for a long time. I want you to look at this picture and look at it closely. Her name is Ava Marie Gonzales. She hasn't been seen since she was 2 years old. So we're talking roughly 6 years. Police released these images of the girl when she was young, but they also released this picture. That's an estimation of what she may look like today. She would be roughly 9 years old. This is what police said during a news conference.
Police discovered that there was an 8th child who was not found inside the home. The missing 9-year-old child was identified as Ava Marie Gonzales. Missing persons detectives determined that Ava was last seen in December 2017 when she was 2 years old and in the custody of her mother, Virginia Marie Gonzales. Virginia Gonzales was arrested on April 24th, 2025 for injury to a child, serious bodily injury, for the injuries sustained by her 7-year-old child. Austin Police Department's missing person detectives are seriously concerned about Ava's welfare, given the circumstances in which Ava's 7-year-old sibling was found.
I want to take a moment and talk about something really important and something that impacts a lot of people. It's debt. It doesn't just show up one day, it builds over time. Could be credit cards, medical bills, car bills, Eventually, it puts you in a place where you are feeling stuck. But here's the good news, you're not stuck. You just need to reset. At American Financing, they help homeowners like you every day. They use your home's equity and roll that high interest debt into one simple, affordable payment. They're saving homeowners an average of $800 a month. There's no judgment, no pressure, just real solutions that put you back in control. So imagine breathing again, sleeping again, knowing your future is yours to shape. It starts with just one call. It only takes 10 minutes to get started, and there are no upfront fees. So it costs nothing to find out how much you can save. And if you start today, you may be able to delay your next 2 mortgage payments. American Financing's salary-based consultants are ready to listen and ready to help. Take back your peace of mind with American Financing. So take back your peace of mind with American Financing. Give American Financing a call today, 866-891-2821, or go to americanfinancing.net/onthecase. So once again, I'm going to put this picture up here of Ava per the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children of what she may look like today if she is still alive at 9 years old. She was last seen in her mom's custody in December 2017. Police are looking for a lot of information. It's unclear what they know right now, but publicly, it does not seem like they know a lot. They have made this email, ava@austintexas.gov, as a place where people can send their tips if they think they've seen this girl or they know where this girl may be today. Now, this is the Crime Stoppers number as well that police want people to call if they have tips.
If you have any information, please come forward. We are not trying to get anyone in trouble. We're trying to ensure everyone's safety.
Police say Ava was never reported missing, and this is truly a case where it seems like she fell through the cracks. Here's how police answered questions about how this could have happened.
So last seen 7 years ago, 7-ish years ago, what makes you think she's still alive, or how are we where we are today?
So we have information, showing that she was born to Virginia. We just don't know where she is right now, and that's what we're trying to figure out, is her current status, where she is, who she's with, and if she's safe and healthy.
Has anyone seen her in that 7 years since last seen by anyone in the home and now?
That's what we're hoping for today with this press conference, is to help, to ask for help from any community members that have seen her or know where she currently is.
Do you know anything about Ava's father?
We have not positively identified.
So at this point, police don't know who Ava's father may be. They also say that the mom, Virginia Gonzales, who's in custody, has given them conflicting statements, and it seems like they're getting conflicting statements from other members of the family as well. But police have been tight-lipped about who they've been speaking to this point in this case since they discovered that Ava has been missing for such a long period of time.
Were other family members concerned that they hadn't seen Ava for this long?
So she has provided conflicting information to many different family members. So we're hoping to get some more information and try to figure out where she is.
Has the suspect mentioned her missing child at all, or how did you come to find out that there was a missing 8th child?
She has provided us some information that we're trying to corroborate.
Do we have any other questions?
Are we talking about, do we think she might be going to school possibly? Are we talking about in the Austin area? Where might people have seen this little girl?
Certainly, the Central Texas region, but she could be anywhere at this point.
Police also say they've been unable to get information about not just Ava and whether she was enrolled in school, but if any of the children, the 8 children of Virginia Gonzales, have ever been in school. Police refuse to comment on any previous communications that Child Protective Services have had with the Gonzales family and referred the media to a spokesperson for the agency. So we reached out to the agency through the information given to us by Austin Police, and we asked What type of contact have they had with the Gonzales family over the years? But we received a response from the agency saying that details about cases involving families, that is confidential information. They did say that the 7 children inside that home have been removed from the family and placed in foster care. But again, we don't know what type of knowledge Child Protective Services had over the years of Ava Gonzales, or knew that she was in any potential trouble before she went missing in December of 2017. Joining us now to talk more about this case is missing persons private investigator Steve Fisher. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. It doesn't seem like police have a lot of leads, at least they're not saying it publicly. Where do you even begin in a case like this where it doesn't appear that this girl has been seen since 2017?
Yeah, so this makes it super difficult because, the normal process would be when a child like this goes missing, you go into a search for the child based on information that is somewhat in real time. And so that's out the window here. So what we're going to have to rely on is, social media, pleas to family and friends, analytical data. There's not going to be even physical evidence at this point is pretty much going to be useless because of the time that's passed. So this is not going to be an investigation, I think, where you see an actual search happening. This is going to be all investigative based.
And it's kind of a cliche to say someone fell through the cracks in cases like this, but for a 2-year-old to disappear, to not be seen, she was not in school, it seems, or any of the kids, according to police. But I mean, what typically are the avenues where a report can come in if you have a case where, which what it appears from what police have said, the mom did not report her missing back in 2017, the last time she was seen. What other avenues were missed here to be now more than 6 years later where police are like, oh my gosh, where is this girl?
Well, we don't know what the family dynamics are, so we don't know if she had a family relationship. But listen, she has 8 children, so there's been people in her life pretty consistently, whether that be the same father or different fathers. There's been people around, and somebody had to have noticed that this child was all of a sudden disappeared, including neighbors. I think it's likely they were living in an apartment complex. She may have been on government assistance. We saw this in the Harmony Montgomery case. Were those benefits being used, and by who? When did physicians stop seeing the child, if they ever even did see the child, much after birth? There's, I think, investigators now are going to be going back and starting at the beginning and literally trying to see where any paper trail of her, with physicians, with people that live near her, with her siblings. We don't know the exact ages. I think we just know that there's 7 siblings that go up to age 14. So she does have older siblings. The 14-year-old may be able to shed some light on that. That's a really, really, really delicate process, though, of extracting that information. That is not really for investigators to do. That's for trained clinical psychologists and whatnot to debrief them over a long period of time.
And the kids weren't in school either, which raises questions of, I mean, especially for a 14-year-old to have never been enrolled in school, according to police. Like, there's so many questions of like, how does that even happen? They have put an email out for people to send in tips. They've put a phone number for Crime Stoppers to send in tips. Just in your experience, how effective, and I know there are the stories of the tip came in and it led us to what was going on, but you imagine that there's going to be thousands of tips and emails that are going to go in. How do you sift through those? How do you follow up on those tips to see which ones are legit and which ones just are not going to lead you in the direction of this girl?
Well, my guess is simply because of the age of the child, and people are really going to want to help in this case. They're going to get bombarded with tips, and it's going to be tough to sift through. They're going to have to do it, though. But the thing is, so much time has passed now. Witness accounts are notoriously the worst form of evidence there is, right? I mean, people get things turned around, and different people will see different things and remember things differently, and over time, the story will change in your mind. And unless somebody really saw a direct event that was traumatic and memorable, um, you don't know how credible that's going to be. And if it is credible, why didn't it get reported? And so there's probably a small subset of people in her life that might know some information, but these are probably people that it's going to be hard to get that information from, would be my guess.
Yeah, and they've put out this AI generated image of what Ava Marie Gonzales may look like today. She'd be roughly 9 years old. In your experience, because it's always kind of incredible what technology can do, and you try to project of what someone could look like. In your experience, how effective, how accurate are those types of images in these cases?
So that age progression with children is a pretty new thing that NCMEC has started doing. We've seen it in the Summer Wells case, I think maybe in Oakley Carlson case, and a couple others, but we don't really know because unfortunately we haven't found those children yet, so we don't know how accurate those are. There's nothing really to gauge against if they were accurate or not. I mean, it is not. It's only been in the last year that they've really authorized this age progression, and we've started seeing these appear on billboards and stuff, which I think is a great thing. But we just unfortunately haven't found any of these children yet that it's been tested on, so we don't really know how accurate those renderings are.
Police have been pretty tight-lipped in some ways, and maybe they just don't know. At least in the news conference, they wouldn't talk about her criminal history. Not a surprise that CPS isn't talking about previous interactions with the family. That's typically confidential. As far as my end, I mean, trying to find her on social media at this point in time that we're recording, I haven't been able to find a Facebook page or something like that. And then court records, Virginia Gonzales is a relatively common name. So what sticks out to you at this point, just when you look at what we know about this mom who's now in custody, which, by the way, her child was found at 29 pounds. The kid's 7 years old inside the house, allegedly. So, there's that whole aspect of this investigation as well.
Yeah.
But what stands out to you right now when we look at Virginia Gonzales?
I just think that with 8, or 7 at the time that were in this household, I still don't think that it was just Virginia. I think whether another male in her life, but if you just do the timing that she's had 8 children and she's 33 years old, there's pretty consistently been a male in her life. I don't think that she's the only one that was an adult in that household. So I think there's somebody else that knows. And I think maybe the reason that police are being tight-lipped is because it doesn't look good that you have 8 kids up to 14 that have never been to school or supposedly being homeschooled. But I very highly doubt that's happened, since we find this child, 7-year-old, locked in a closet. Thank God the grandmother called when she found out. But I also think that there's probably a high probability that they've had some sort of contact with CPS in the past. And are we going to see this again? Like we've seen with Harmony and Montgomery and other cases where, I'm not blaming it on CPS, but there's holes in that system. But they're also shielded by this privacy, so they're not bound to provide any records or any information or anything. But I would guess that they've probably had contact with that system before. It'd be interesting to see if they've applied for government benefits, because I think at that point, then they do have to, there should be some reporting on the homeschooling and whatnot. So I think there's, a lot of, questions to be answered. But right now, I think their focus is going to be going back and finding out who these adults in the mom's life are that can say, when was the last time you saw Ava? Where, what has Virginia told you? Because if this is something, if she lives a life of, say, substance abuse or whatnot, because I believe there's a charge for that, she's probably confided in somebody. She's probably told somebody, as somebody, you know, probably has information, and it's just a matter of getting that out of them. And I think, listen, this is national news, right? So there's gonna be a lot of pressure. So if anybody knows anything, they're probably going to give it up fairly soon, I would think. But you just never know.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting in the news conference too that it might have just been something that the representative from the Austin police said, but it was just in pitching the email address and the Crime Stoppers number, saying like, we're not trying to get anyone in trouble, was the way he was saying it. So it was as if that there's someone out there who knows something,
Yeah.
and to try and get them to come forward. You bring up an interesting point that she has been, I mean, let's face it, she's 33, her oldest kid is 14 years old, and she has 8 kids. So she's been
Yeah.
consistently pregnant for a long time.
Yeah.
And I would assume, unless she's doing home births, that she's been to a hospital for, or maybe, I don't know, maybe she's not seeing a doctor. Maybe it's something that she just goes to a hospital for a birth. But have you ever seen a case where you can get records from a hospital related to that could help kind of shed some light on what the family situation has been like?
Well, some states will, you can get, records of birth. Every state's a little different. It is also harder with minors, but there should be some, paper trail of birth, and at least shortly thereafter medically. And they will, because this is a criminal case, they will be able to get around the HIPAA, um, laws, because there is carve outs in those, for criminal investigations. But, the other thing is I'm sure that law enforcement will be, through, the medical channels, be putting out notices to physicians that if they have treated children that have come in that they really haven't been able to nail down, that have been coming in with somebody other than the parent, or doesn't have birth records or immunization records or stuff like that, to maybe flag those children, to send to law enforcement. Because that is something, when you're dealing with pediatric physicians and people young in life, they do, you have to show that paper trail, birth records and immunization and whatnot. So I'm sure that they're working that angle as well, but I think mostly they're leaning on her, getting her to break, and then the people that are in her life. And then I think the most important person probably is going to be the older siblings. It's a tricky one, but because that's going to take clinical psychology, because you don't want to re-traumatize those older siblings, and we don't know what state they're in mentally, and they very well might just find this to be normal and not want to get their mom in trouble. And so I think debriefing them is going to be a slow process, but it is something that, I had a case that involved a young teen that was trafficked, and the FBI has these, these trauma psychologists, and the ones that worked on this case, these women were amazing, and they take their time and they really connect with the kid before they even start asking any questions. And I think that they'll lean on people like that, because this is something that will involve the FBI, Texas Rangers. I think everybody's involved in this because of the age.
Yeah, and certainly the hope is that she's still alive, and unfortunately there's the possibility that she's not. But if she is still alive, you talk about trafficking. We don't know what the possibilities are of where she could be, but typically in these cases, what are some of, if she's alive, some of the possibilities that investigators may be looking at of what may have happened to her and where she may be?
Well, so that's the thing. I think they go back in the mom's history and find out, was she, did she abuse substances? Did she, was this something that she could have trafficked the child for money, or for whatever reason, but didn't find going from there. This is the thing, that so much time has passed, those, let's say she was trafficked. Those people that initially trafficked her, there's a high likelihood, just because of the demographic of that type of criminal, that they could be in prison or dead, or just completely out of the country, deported, who knows? So it can become just so difficult, to go that route, unless the mom's really forthcoming and knows exactly who the child might have been handed over to. But the way that the 7-year-old was found, it just really worries me that something horrible might have happened to Ava, as far as care wise goes.
That's terrifying. And from what we know about what the other kids in the home said, like to your point, that someone may think it's just normal, they explained that, oh, like the mom apparently felt that the 7-year-old child was acting out and that was an appropriate punishment. It certainly is not. You have investigated so many of these cases. This one's getting a lot of national news because it's clearly unique, but just how common are these types of cases to have the details like this? I mean, for someone to go missing for 6 years and for police to seem to have no idea, where perhaps it's even a surprise that they were even able to track to December 2017, which was the last time that this daughter was even seen. I mean, have you ever seen a case like
Right.
this before?
Not with this amount of time. I think Harmony Montgomery, was a super long time, and that was a couple of years, and that was eventually the mother coming forward saying she felt something was off. She had gone in and out of rehab and had Harmony taken away from her. But and this is a case where it seems like nobody. I'd like to know more about the grandmother that
Yeah, same.
reported 7-year-old. That, thank God, led to law enforcement finding out about Ava. But did she know Ava? And I guess law enforcement has said there was different stories going around the family about where Ava was. But that's when it's a 2-year-old, that seems off to me.
Yeah, and you wonder too, I mean, to your point with CPS, I mean, where did they get even like as simple as like, where did they get the pictures of Ava police to put them out, and then when did the conversation even come up where they realized that there are 7 kids in the home, but there should be 8 children? So there's a lot of
Yeah.
details that police haven't put out yet that we're gonna have to wait and see. Obviously, the hope is that she is alive, that there's some explanation for it, but this investigation, it'll be interesting to follow. Steve Fisher, missing persons private investigator. It's always great to have your perspective on law and crime. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Before we go, I want to once again take a moment to put that important information up on the screen, because as you heard from police, they really have no idea where Ava Marie Gonzales may be. But here is that email for people to send tips and information to if they think they know where that young girl may be, now believed to be 9 years old. She hasn't been seen since she was 2 years old. That email is ava@austintexas.gov. That is the place where people can send their tips and send their information. And also there's the very important Crime Stoppers number that you see on your screen as a place that people can call with tips. And if they need to be anonymous, you heard police say that is okay. And they say the point of this is to not get people in trouble, but to find this missing girl. For On the Case, presented by Law and Crime, I'm Chris Stewart. We'll see you next time.